Okay, so talking behind the camera is extremely uncomfortable because I'm not very used to it. But for some reason I decided I'm qualified to do a Q&A in respect to this series, I guess. And to be honest, I do get quite a few questions just in general about anything and in regards to the series every time I post a video. So I figure it's better to answer them all in one quick format. You'll notice a lot of these questions are by a few same people because it was the few same people asking the most questions. But I got a good amount and they're pretty good questions, so I think I should answer them. And I asked people to ask me questions, so I think I should answer them. I'm reading these off of the screen with my glasses on, so if I keep looking to the side, that's what's happening. Favorite riff / hardest riff out of all that you've learned? The one that gave me the most trouble, I think, was G, because it's such a long riff, and also I'm not that used to using my 8 string in a kind of technical sense. A lot of Periphery songs that use the 7 and the 8 strings are more groove oriented. When it came to doing Mark's rhythm solo, it was a bit of a shock, because I just was completely unprepared to do something that technical on my 8 string. Insomnia was one of the hardest ones, and that was the first one I did, and I wasn't really even taking this that seriously then. Literally I was doing it through camera audio, but yeah, that was a tough one. The same can be said for a lot of P2, because the album is just so technical and melodic, so to get all the parts down right was quite hard. For some reason one of my favourites was Light, and it just has like a really good groove to it. Top Man was fun as well, because it's kind of just a wacky riff, to be honest. One that was really recent that I liked was Stranger Things. Literally that was yesterday. It's got such a good groove to it, and some of the notes in that intro part are just, I'm pretty sure it's easy to tell from the videos, but Hellwillow was extremely fun, and so was Masamune. So this is from Alexander of 9. You'll notice that he asked a lot of questions, which is a good thing. If you could start a band with any 4 musicians, only one per band, who would they be, and what would the band be called? Yeah, that's hard. My innate response is just to go, yeah, Periphery. All Periphery. I'll take everyone from Periphery. But obviously, one per band and only 4 members. So the problem is, who would I want from Periphery? And I think I would have to pick Spencer. Not because I think Spencer's necessarily better than Misha or Mark, or better than Matt, but I think Spencer is such a good vocalist that in the whole respective field of metal, I don't think anyone comes close. For drums, it's kind of weird, but I'd probably go for Aaron Stecklener from X Rings of Saturn and now Interloper. I know Matt Garska's the obvious choice, so I'm kind of gonna go for a not obvious choice. Aaron is so proficient at drumming, but also if you watch some of the stuff, some of the playthroughs he did for the 2017 Rings of Saturn album, you can tell he's kind of got that Alex Rudinger really fast, proficient drumming. Also a lot of technical and jazz skill influenced in there. For bass, I'm technically allowed to pick Nolly since he's not in Periphery, and that's kind of a cop-out, but you know. I think something to pull this really weird sound together is Paul Wagner from BT Bam. So we've got Spencer, Paul Wagner, Aaron Stecklener, and Nolly, which is kind of a weird fusion of sounds, but I kind of would like to see what that would do. Do you prefer 6, 7, or 8 strings? This is honestly a good question, because if you asked me this about before I started doing this series, I would have just said 6 off the bat, because I wasn't really comfortable with using my 8 string back there, and I've been using the same 6 string for about 6 years now. But honestly now, after using it so much for this series, I've really enjoyed using my 8. However, in my own music, I don't really gel well with using the 8. So I think the 7 would be a good midpoint for me. Once again though, I don't really have a position to comment on that. I've never played a 7 string. So out of straight just comfort, it's definitely the 6. I'm enjoying using the 8 playing other people's riffs, and I feel like a 7 would be a good midpoint. So to answer your question, I don't really have a good answer. If Mark Holcomb died suddenly, and Periphery offered you a place in the band playing his old parts and composing new material, would you accept? All new materials, wow. I mean, I'd absolutely be honoured if Periphery ever asked me a question like that, but I don't feel like I'd be able to take Mark's place. If I was to accept, which I absolutely would, I'm not acting coy about that, I definitely would accept. I couldn't pretend to be like I'm filling Mark's place, I just have to be the new member, because Mark writes in such a unique way, which is really hard to emulate. Like, it's easy to use these big chords, and it's easy to write these slidey riffs. I think I'd be able to play his parts after doing this for so long now. What is the lowest tuning in a 6 string that you consider reasonable? Well, Periphery have kind of answered that question with using GGCFAD on a 6 string for Reptile, which, to be honest, after restringing my 6 string, it does okay. It does go down to the octave G pretty well. This might sound like sacrilege, but I don't think that's great for writing, even though they wrote so well with it in Reptile. I find it hard to use a lot of common phrasings that you might want to use, or riffs that you might want to use, and it's easy to get stuck in this pattern of just using the 2 Gs as octaves for each other. I use drop C, and sometimes I go down to A, G, C, F, A, D, just drop the C down to A or A sharp. But as a whole string tuning, if you're going down to like drop A sharp, I'd recommend you probably get a 7 string. And finally, what are your thoughts on headless guitars? So actually for the whole, I kind of like how they look. I've never played one, so I don't know if it plays any differently to use a headless guitar. Maybe it does. Maybe you can feel that lack of weight at the top. Literally, I can only talk on how they look. I like how they look. I think they look really cool. I forgot what my question first go around was. That's fine. But basically, how has this journey influenced your own personal playing? Any new techniques you've been forced to use or learn that you can see yourself implementing on a regular basis? Any spec changes you've been forced to make that will impact daily playing? So it's definitely influenced my own personal playing in one way, and that is I definitely feel like I'm already a better guitarist after these 55 days or whatnot. When you're learning at this faster pace, you're kind of forced to learn at this faster pace, and then you're really forced into having to learn fast, because if you don't, then you don't get the riff up. So it's definitely influenced my learning ability. I learn things really fast now in comparison, and it's definitely made me a better player. In regards to techniques I've had to use that I've never used before, sweep picking, like in Mile Zero, I can't sweep pick for shit, but I had to learn how to sweep pick just for that song. I don't really ever see myself implementing sweep picking. I think they used it really tastefully in Mile Zero, but that's the thing, like I don't know if they've ever used sweep picking outside of that song before. I don't see that much musical implementation into my own music, and I'm not really good enough at it to put it on a track because it wouldn't be very clean. And spec changes, not really, but I did change my strings because, embarrassingly, my six string strings hadn't been changed since December 2019, and these hadn't been changed since October 2018. Assuming you're taking questions out of this comment, what's your favourite song from each album, counting the PCs, and what are your PCs? Let's say PCs? EPs. And what are your least favourite songs? Yeah, so for P1 it's definitely going to be Light. Race Car's close, but Light just takes it. It's just got some of the nicest riffs and melodies in that whole album. I also really like Tot La Mad. That one riff which goes like... It's just perfect. But Race Car too. Race Car is fantastic. Off Icarus, it has to be New Groove. It's a really short song, and it's barely even a fleshed out song. I guess it actually isn't a song because there's no vocals. Just that riff just completes the entire song. P2 is the easiest choice for me, and that's Make Total Destroy. The album's fantastic overall, but nothing comes close to Make Total Destroy for me. I think for Clear, it's going to have to be Extraneous. Nolly just went all out on that track. It's a toss-up between a few. Psychosphere. Seeing Psychosphere live kind of cemented that song as one of the best songs for me. The Scourge too, just for that scream where he screams, "I am not free." I remember the first time I heard that scream, I was biking home from college, and I had to get off my bike because I couldn't quite believe what I just heard. And also a Black Minute. It's just, I guess, one of the lesser songs on the track. There's not a huge amount going on, but something about it, like harmonically, is just crazy. And then for Omega, I'd probably pick Stranger Things. I actually do prefer Stranger Things quite a bit over Omega. I feel like Stranger Things works better as a shorter song. I know it's 7 minutes still, but in regards to the 11 minutes, nearly 12 that Omega is, I think I prefer Stranger Things. For P3, it's another toss-up of like answers. So The Way the News Goes, Remain Indoors, Absalom, Catch Fire, I Know, I'm Sorry, and Loon. Come on, it's Loon. Like, yeah, and then for P4, obviously Reptile, but also Blood Eagle. Even though it was the first single and I got a bit tired of it, it's definitely grown me again after these like nearly 2 years. And Satellites also, and Crush. I love Crush. It's a very weird song for them, but I just think it works so well. For my least favourite songs, I don't really have a good answer because I like them all, but I guess weaker songs would probably be Butter Snips off of P1, Facepalm Mute off of P2. I don't really have a good answer for Juggernauts. For P3, I might say the first half of Motormouth, and for P4, I'd probably say the first half of Follow Your Ghost. But I don't think they have like least favourite songs in their catalogue for me. Do you use tabs or learn by ear, or a bit of both of these? Also, what equipment do you use to get your tones? So nearer to the start, I was trying my best to try and go by ear, but my ear isn't that good, so I supplement everything I do with tabs now. So as much as I can do with ear, I will, and then if I have to use tabs, which most of the time I do, in honesty, I'll use tabs. And the equipment I use for my tones, this entire time I've been using Toneforge Mr. Manchester. Oh, that's not his name. How long do you practice each song for? So this is something that I actually do put in the comments of every single video on Reddit. Time taken means the first time I hear, or like hear in respect to learning, or look at a tab, to the final take that you see in the video. So if it says 25 minutes, it will mean the first time I looked at the tab, to me having recorded a good take, essentially. Yeah, so typically they fall from around 10 minutes to an hour to get a good take and to learn the riff. But yeah, some do take longer, like certain solos or certain songs like G. Just how legit are you? Do you have any music I can check out? Well, funnily enough, my music's been playing in the background of this video the entire time. But yes, I do. I have a solo band because obviously it's a solo band, you know, bedroom guitar products are the way of the future. But it's called Tessitura, and yeah, I've been making music for a little while now. I'll put links in the description, but they're also on this YouTube channel. I wouldn't go back any further than my latest EP because it's kind of cringe. But yeah, I have an EP up that I put up pretty recently. But yeah, I do have music. Has learning this riff given you any fresh ideas or tones or general spec selection for your personal use? When it comes to like spec selection or my own riffs, to be honest, I knew all these songs before from Air, so anything in my riffs probably would have already been inspired. And so the last question, how far in advance do you start working on a song before you post a video? Is it just in 24 hours leading up, or does it take multiple days in advance? Yeah, so it's not even in the 24 hours. If you see a video up, I probably first learned it less than an hour ago. Yeah, so it's not really 24-hour advance, it's not really multiple days advance, it's just that time taken in the description, pretty much that amount of time. I had one more question, which I've lost, but it said, do you think you've gotten better? And absolutely, I think I've gotten better from doing this. It's pushed me to learn riffs that I never would have learned before just because I thought they were too hard. And doing it in this kind of short time frame has made me learn them, and I'm learning them for a reason. So yeah, definitely, I think I've got better because of that. Thank you for the questions, they were really good questions. And yeah, I have to get on and do day 56, which I'm pretty sure is The Price is Wrong. So we're going to be getting this boy here to do some G-sharp tuning. Thank you for all the support on these videos so far, it's been crazy, and thank you for the support on my own music. I put up that little work in progress, which was quite different from what I normally make, but that got a kind of crazy amount of views for me. So thank you for that, and here's to more Riffery and an existential crisis which will probably happen once I run out of riffs to do.